You remember what Jesus had to say about anger? You remember one day he went up onto this mountainside, he sat down, and all these people gathered around trying to listen to what he had to say. And in the midst of what we call his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus had this to say about anger. You remember this? Take a look. He said, "You have heard that it is said to the people long ago, 'You shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment.' But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment." Friends, what is Jesus saying here? He's saying, hey, I'm concerned about what's going on out there. For example, if you murder somebody, if you take their life, you are subject to judgment. But I'm also concerned about what's going on in here. Because if you are angry with somebody, you are also subject to judgment. In other words, it's not okay to murder, but it's also not okay to be angry. You see, in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus is calling on us for us to take our anger seriously. And the reason he's doing this is because anger is an indicator of unforgiveness. For example, whenever Elaine and I get angry at each other and we yell and we argue, we have this fight, you know when we forgive each other 99 times out of 100? After our anger has subsided. In other words, we don't forgive in the midst of our anger. I mean, think about it. Have you ever been angry at somebody and you're telling them off, and in the midst of telling them off, you forgive them? Like, oh, I can't believe you did this, and I can't believe you would disrespect me, and I forgive you. Right? Nobody does that, right? 99 times out of 100, we forgive and we make up after our anger has subsided. You see, the reason why Jesus wants us to take anger so seriously is because it creates a culture of unforgiveness where we say, hey, I'm not gonna forgive you until I'm done being angry with you. Friends, some of you here today, you're sitting next to somebody that you have not fully forgiven in your heart because you're still angry with them. Maybe you got into a fight on the way to church this morning, or maybe there was a mishap at breakfast this morning, or something happened last night or earlier this week. Some of you here today, you have people in your life that you've been angry at for years. And every time you think of that person, it's like this anger just wells up inside you. For some of you here today, you may have a person in your life that you flat out refuse to forgive. That no matter what happens, you're never going to forgive that person. Friends, this is what happens when we don't deal with the mad that we feel. We end up creating and fostering and perpetuating a culture of unforgiveness. But you know what the good news is, you and I both know, is that when Jesus walked on this earth, he did not model a culture of unforgiveness, did he? No, he modeled a culture of forgiveness. In fact, that was the very core of his ministry. Jesus didn't come into the world to condemn us. He came to save us, right? And in order to save us, well, he had to forgive us. You remember when Jesus was hanging on the cross? The final moments before he died. You remember some of the people, they were throwing insults at him? You remember what Jesus didn't say? He didn't say, "Father, I'm angry at these people, cast them into the lake of fire." No, what did he say? "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Even in the final moments before his death, Jesus refused to let anger stand in the way of forgiveness. And friends, today as his followers, you and I, we're called to do the same too. Take a look at how the Apostle Paul describes this in Ephesians chapter 4. He says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice." And then he says, do this instead: "Be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." Friends, we forgive because Christ forgave us. That is a core teaching of our faith. And as Paul is pointing out here, in order to do that, we need to be able to deal with the mad that we feel.